Hello and welcome to our technical tutorial of how to make eyelids on this little chappy. So you can see that the eyes are the glue-in eyes that we usually use, but then you can just about see that it's sort of surrounded by a slightly bulging eyelid on the top and on the bottom, and that's what I'm going to show you. This is supporting our Makers Box for June 2023, which is the turtle, but it's a good technique to know for all kinds of different animals if you want to make eyelids and have less of this wide eye showing. So you will be as far as this. So you've made your little turtle head. Well, in this case it's a turtle, but if you're doing the Makers Box, that's it. And what I've done is I've marked with a little bit of stabbing a hole here where the eyes are going, and if you're following our instructions, let's have this little face pointing in here, then you will be on page 3, step 11, where the eyes are marked here with a little white cross. So this is the point at which I am now. So I'm going to first of all add the eyes into the turtle. So for this you can use your felting needle. If you have an awl, use your awl. I'm using a coarse felting needle and I'm literally just putting a hole into there. Remember, the needle comes out somewhere else. If you have an awl, use your awl. It's just as good, if not better. And then you have made a hole there, and then you can insert one of the eyes like that. It's very easy. And then do the other one on the other side. So you put the eyes in first and jiggle it in. I know there's a hole, so it needs a little bit of encouragement. So you've got your 2 eyes in there now. Make sure they are symmetrical, so check that you're happy with the positioning of the eyes, and only then will you use a little bit of the well, we use the Stick It glue pen, and you use the nozzle of the glue to insert behind the eye, so you don't take the eye out, it doesn't leave its channel. Add a dab of glue, push it back in, and you do that on the other side as well. These are quite big eyes, so it's quite easy to do it. It's not as fiddly as sometimes with the smaller eyes. And push them in and don't touch them again now. So this is, I'm going to leave that just here for a minute whilst I'm getting my eyelids ready. Now the aim is that you're going to make 4 of these little things. So I've worked in advance, but I'll show you how to make them. So they are fluffy at the end and neatish at the top here. And to do this, you take a ideally, if you're making 4 eyelids, then take 4 identical pinches of wool already. So that's always a good plan, is to have the same amount of wool ready for a similar size shape that you're making. So these are my 4. I'm going to put them. I'm only going to show you how to make 1 because I've got 4 already. And you lay this flat onto your felting mat, and then you're going to stab the edge. So you basically need to make a neat edge, and you stab along the center like this, and then you're going to fold that over, and that top part here is now your neat edge. You're going to work that a little bit more. So you can do this with you can start out with a coarser needle and then work with a fine needle, because you want to make that edge really nice and neat with as little fluff as possible. But you're leaving the rest of the shape, these bits here, they're going to stay unfelted. So work to the measurements that are given in the instructions, but ultimately you know that this needs to fit over the turtle's eyes. So you can stab into the edge a little bit as well to soften the fluffiness there, because we want it to be as neat as possible before we attach it to the turtle's head. So work with small shallow stabs into the eyelid whilst it's flat. And once you've done this, I'm going to actually start with a lower lid. So every time you stab it from one end, just stab it from the other side, and notice my needle sinks in very little. I'm literally just using the very tip of the needle to felt down the flat sheet, so that I don't sink too many wispy fibers into the felting mat, because every time you do that you've got to felt them down again, because you're literally just pushing them through the other end and felting them into the mat, whereas I actually want them to felt to themselves, to each other. Right, so I'm quite happy with that shape now. So all you're going to do now is you're going to sit this onto the base of the eye like this, and you're felting in all these wispy fibers, which are nice and unfelted, so they will just literally melt into the rest of the shape. So you felt those down, and all that remains to be seen is a neat edge that covers the bottom of the eye. Now you can felt into this a little bit, but don't felt into it too much so you push it away from the eye, which completely defeats the object of what you're trying to do. You can have it more of an eyelid or less of an eyelid, that's entirely up to you, but make sure you don't felt it away. So have it in that eye, but the edges of that needle felted sheet with a neat edge will be completely disappearing into the head shape. So that's one fastened on, and then because I've worked ahead, I'm just going to use another one that looks a little bit, felt that down a little bit more. It isn't quite as neat as I've done the first one. So you're actually quite flexible in terms of size, as long as it's wide enough to cover the eye, the full width of the eye. It doesn't really matter if it's slightly bigger or smaller, because you're felting everything else. They're just literally little wisps into the head of the turtle. So there's the second eyelid that's going on top, and it's better to have it overlapping a little bit too much, because you can always felt it back, than not enough, then you have to pull it over the eye more. Now these are covering the eye very, very much in comparison to what the turtle is doing here, but as I say, you can push these out of the way quite a bit more, and it's done very easily. So don't go and have them in exact the same position. You can always felt them back down a little bit more if need be. It just gives it a very realistic look, the eyes. And then what you also need to do is you need to grab a little bit of the white wool that you've got in your box or whatever, and you want to fill in a little bit of white around the eyes, so just for a little bit of white to show. Now that needs to be very, very subtle, so you don't put too much in there. You really just need a tiny bit of white showing. Whether that is you can have the eyelid not overlapping the eye and just make it like it's about to close, so you can have a bit of white at the top of the eye. It's entirely up to you how much open or how much closed you want the eye to be, and just have a little play around with it. And if you felted it back too much, there's nothing stopping you adding a bit of the eyelid over it again. So I'm doing this quite minimalistic here at the moment, but on the turtle project it's actually quite prominent, so you've got quite a lot of white showing. So it's entirely up to you how you want to do this, and that is basically how you do an eyelid on the turtle, but on any animal really. I hope you enjoyed that, and I can't wait to see your eyelided animals and turtle appearing on our different social media sites. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon.